Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Darshawn McAway. You're tuned in to Wow Podcast. By all means, go to wowpodcast.me. That's wowpodcast.me. Now, today we have Hank Phillippi Ryan. She's here to talk to us about her latest book, The First to Lie. Hank, how are you?
I'm great. I'm here in Boston where it is, I think, 100 degrees. So a crazy summer day.
Very hot, very hot. So I have a hot question for you. And I usually do the research on this, but I want to hear it from the actual author. Why the name change? What was that moment that made you say, hey, let me use Hank instead of my birthright name?
Well, that's a really great story and so surprising because people often think I did it at some point in my television career to transition to a writing career. But what really happened, and I'll give you the scoop, is that a long time ago on my very first day of college, I arrived at my first class and someone said, "You don't look like a Harriet. We'll call you Hank," because Harriet is my real name. And I grew up being such a nerdy little misfit of a girl that when all the cool girls are named Debbie and Linda and your name is Harriet, that is not what you want. So I embraced Hank. They said, "You don't look like a Harriet, we'll call you Hank." And I thought, great, anything but Harriet. And honestly, that was 1967. And I have been Hank ever since then, all through my days at Rolling Stone magazine and all through my days working on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and in my early years in radio, and then with my first television job in 1975, I've been Hank. And so when I began writing thrillers several years ago, that was my name, and that's how it is. So I don't even remember who it was that made up the name Hank all those years ago. So I don't even know who to credit with that moment in my history.
So your latest book, The First to Lie, what is this book about?
Well, you know, my books are twisty, turny, psychological standalones. The kind of book that I want you to miss your stop on the subway because you want to read just one more chapter. Hank Phillippi Ryan books are always sort of cat and mouse games, and The First to Lie is also a cat and mouse game. It is about obsession and betrayal and motherhood and revenge. And it's about a woman who faces an incredibly devastating betrayal when she was a teenager. And she has spent her life now looking for revenge, no matter what family secrets are revealed. What she doesn't realize, though, is that there is another person also looking for a similar revenge, but only one of those two women can succeed. So it's two smart, strong women facing off in a psychological cat and mouse game to prove their truth about a terrible betrayal. But which character is the cat and which character is the mouse? And I can tell you, Darshan, that the secret of The First to Lie is figuring out which character was really the first to lie.
So throughout all of your books, how many of your books come close to home? Meaning, how many of them are from your own personal experience that you kind of throw your personal life in there a little bit just to tweak it?
Well, you know, I've been a television reporter for 43 years now, and I have wired myself with hidden cameras and confronted corrupt politicians and gone undercover and in disguise and chased down criminals. So all of that real on-the-street experience, of course, goes into writing my novels. I've won 37 Emmys for investigative reporting, and my novels are not fictionalized versions of my television stories, but all that authenticity, all that experience, all that genuine knowledge of how law enforcement works, how journalism works, how the justice system works, how people behave and their psychology, all of that goes into my books. Often one of the main characters in the books is a reporter, not always the main character, but that kind of element of journalism and the search for truth is certainly in the DNA of all my books. You know, people say, "Why do you write about crime? You know, the world is so terrible and frightening. Why do you write about crime?" Which is frightening in itself. And I say I don't write about crime, really. I write about justice. because that's what I'm going for in these novels, is what is the truth and what do we mean by the truth, and is the truth just that someone tells a better story than someone else, a more believable story than someone else, and how far, as in the First to Lie, how far will someone go to get what they want, even if it means making themselves into a different person to get it. You know, the question of the First to Lie is, you know, we all are who we say we are, but what if being someone else could get us what we want? Would we go that far to make that happen? And, you know, that's the scary, gaslighting, manipulative, deceptive part of all my books, and that is sort of the headline of the First to Lie.
Now, in being a investigative reporter, you come close to a lot of scary moments. What's a scary moment for you that you say, you know what, maybe I don't want to do this as much as I thought I did?
Well, you know, I've never had a moment like that, Darshan, where I've said maybe I don't want to do this as much as I thought I did. You know, I'm in Boston, Massachusetts, which is not like my brave colleagues overseas who work in places that are definitely physically, threateningly scary. You know, I've been chased and I've been harassed and I've been stalked and I've been followed and I've had people knock on my door and certainly had my share of nasty, threatening phone calls. But I've never felt maybe I better pull back on this a little bit. Every single one of those Emmys on my shelf, every single one of those 37 Emmys is about a secret. You know, it's about a moment that I revealed, a secret that someone didn't want you to know, that someone didn't want the public to know. And I'm incredibly careful and I'm incredibly diligent and I work very hard to make sure that what gets on the air is true, and it has always been true. So, you know, I remember a woman called me once just screaming at me about a story that I had done that involved your husband. And she said, you know, how could you do that to him? How could you do that to him? You know, and I had to say, you know, he did that to himself. I didn't do that. The other thing about being in television and being a television reporter is that when I'm out on a story, I have a photographer with me. So I'm rarely out on my own by myself, except if I am with a hidden camera. And so I always tell my photographer, you know, if it looks like somebody's going to haul off and hit me, make sure you're rolling, so at least we can get that video on tape. And you know, so, and that has happened before. So you never know what's going to happen, but it's all part of this goal of getting to the truth. And being a good, strong storyteller. And I think I've been able to translate that storytelling ability, that suspense and that intelligence and that drive and that, you know, sort of riveting story translated from my real work as an investigative reporter to my fictional work as a thriller writer. And my book, The Murder List, which is on sale right now, my book, The Murder List, was just nominated for the Agatha and the Anthony and the McCavity and the Mary Higgins Clark Award. So The Murder List, my current book, is the only book in the world that's been nominated for all of those four big awards this year. So I'm very proud of that. And so it's fun to have my newest book, The First to Lie, come out right on the heels of those wonderful honors.
Now, with most of us authors, we deal with a first impression. But I've been thinking to myself, what is my last impression? So my question to you would be, what would be your last impression that you would like to put on the readers about you?
My last impression that I want people to know about me, the lasting impression. Is that right? I mean, yes. I think that's such a fascinating question because just like my investigative reporting, in my fiction, in The First to Lie, for instance, I want people's world to change a little bit. I want people to maybe look at the world in a different way than they did before, or have an understanding that's different than they had before. You know, it's always safe inside a book. I always say, especially in these scary times, So I want people to know that what I am giving to them is entertainment and enjoyment and page-turning suspense, and that I also care about them and want to expand their world and give them something to think about. I want them to close my books and say, wow, that was a good story. That's my joy in life, is to be able to tap into my imagination and create new worlds for readers. You know, we all know that feeling when we open a book and the walls just fall away and we enter this brand new adventure, and just for a little while we can be someone else. And I want readers to know that that is my goal for them, to bring them some happiness and some escape and just change their world a tiny little bit.
So with that being said, can we tell everybody how they could get in contact with you, possibly follow you on social media, and where to purchase your books?
That would be great. Thank you. My website is hankphillippiryan.com. hankphillippiryan.com. I think we've taken care of all the spellings of that, so you'll find it. And I'm on Twitter and on Instagram way too often at Hank P. Ryan, and Facebook, Hank Phillippi Ryan, author. I am on social media all the time. It is really terrible, but I love to talk to readers there, and I connect personally. It's me. It's not a PR person or any intermediary. If you come to my website and click on contact, hankphillippiryan.com, click on contact, it comes right to me. So I'd love to answer readers' questions. And my books, anywhere you buy your books, regular books, physical books, ebooks, audio books, The First to Lie, and The Murder List are absolutely, and all my books. The First to Lie is my 12th thriller. I'm a USA Today best-selling author, so my books are pretty much everywhere. And the launch of The First to Lie is right now, so I am in the pre-launch jitters, which I know you understand. So any help from any reader is just incredibly, gratefully, delightfully received. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that. You know, this is a scary time in every way, and to be launching a book with fingers crossed during these times is especially difficult. So it's wonderful to talk with you.
Well, I'm your host, Darshawn McAway. We're talking to USA Today best-selling author Hank Phillippi Ryan about her latest book, The First to Lie. Hank, it was such a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much. I loved it, and congratulations on all you do.
Thank you.